Oh, there you are. Got your head in a good book, I see. Oh, something thoughtful to chew on there, eh, Wolfie? Oh, what have we got? Oh, it's the Wolfman. You're reading your own memoirs there? Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your services. Let me just move my hirsute friend slightly out of the frame and bring you guys in a little bit closer. How are you all? I hope you're doing very well. Do forgive my big King Kong-like hands. Other arrival, this little book here, which you've just seen my snouty friend here perusing. This is the original shooting script to 1941's The Wolfman. Yeah, yes. Not again, I hear you cry. He's on about the Wolfman again. God, it's enough to make you howl, isn't it? I've wanted this book for quite some time. Good friend and regular contributor to the channel is 4D, over there in sunny Eccles. And he's been banging on about these books, these film script books from the old Universal classics, for quite some time. And because of him, I managed to get hold of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. There you are. Hey! The shooting script for that. And the thing about these books is, who are produced by, or they're rather reproduced by, Bear Media. And they are wonderful, wonderful tomes. They do Dracula, I think Hunchback of Notre Dame, Invisible Man. I think they did the whole run of the Universal classics. Do you mind? Wildlife around here has no decorum or etiquette. And so because of him, I got the Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman book, which was wonderful. But he always said, if you can get hold of the Wolfman itself, oh man, that's the one to get. And the thing about these books is, obviously that's a softback version, but there's a hardback version as well, which is more expensive. But these things, their prices fluctuate. And he came on the other day and he said, like, look, the Wolfman's available again on Amazon. It's only 15 smackaroonies. So of course, but you know, the thing is, they go up straight away. Anyone shows any interest, boom, the price gets bumped up again. So I went straight on, and the price had jumped to £23. So I thought, well, I don't care, I'm gonna have to get it regardless. So boom, put my order in, and here it is. Now, these books, not only do they contain the original shooting scripts, they have copious illustrations, fabulous biographies about the main stars and the cast. The writer Curt Siodmak, who wrote this screenplay and created, of course, the immortal lines, even the man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night, and of course, Maria Uspenskaya, her fantastic little sort of soliloquy, the road you walked was thorny, through no fault of your own. The film is very fairy tale, very sort of fable-like and dream-like. I know, I've been on about this film so many times now, and the entire Wolfman saga, the Larry Talbot, Lon Chaney Jr. playing him saga, and you know, I'll take it to my grave and beyond, because it's an undying obsession I have with this character, the Wolfman here, which you've seen me review this mask. This is the Trick or Treats Universal Studios Chaney Entertainment Wolfman mask, replica mask, and it is a thing of fairy beauty. And but yeah, these books are tremendously good value. They contain the original press releases too, so all the advertising, marketing blurb will be at the back of it as well. And you've got so many elements of the composer that I'm playing the music. Hans J. Salter and Frank Skinner composed the music for this and many other Universal horror movies. And I've got that playing right now. And there's a huge section on that, just on the music alone. But look at these lavish illustrations. And you can see all this. A lot of great publicity shots. There's a great many pictures of the Wolfman in full makeup. And there's a big section on Jack P. Pierce applying the makeup for the Wolfman. And there you have the pentagram with the running wolf. Of course, and we have this prop from the movie, the wolf-headed cane, courtesy of Steve 007 Smith. And that is an absolute pride and joy in my collection. But what's interesting about this is the permutations the original script went through. Like obviously, all films, just the shooting script is one thing, then you're going to revise it again, you're going to drop elements, you're going to change this, you're going to change the emphasis here, add lines here, ditch things there. That's the way every movie finally gets to the screen. But what's really interesting about this is that it has those famous deleted scenes in it, the bits that everyone sort of knew about and were mythological, like the gypsies are in town and they've got a performing bear, a dancing bear. There is a famous dropped sequence where Lon Chaney Jr. as Larry Talbot is going to, who will fight the bear? Who's brave enough amongst you to fight the bear? And of course, he does, but he is absolutely bestial. His ferocity, he defeats the bear and he's going to kill it, and he shocks everybody. And it's only Gwen Conliffe, the lovely Evelyn Ankers, who plays the love interest and the final girl of this movie. And she steps in and intervenes and saves the bear because he's going to kill this poor bear, and it's an aged bear anyway. And I'm really glad that scene's not in there, to be perfectly honest. I don't like anything like that at all. Any animals being mistreated, in movies. But the thing about that as well is it would completely change the complexion of the movie. If you had seen Larry Talbot in human form going for this bear, becoming completely a ferocious beast, albeit in his massive three-piece suit and all that, like with the huge shoulders on it, and beating this bear almost to death, you would lose all sympathy for him. And the crux of the story is that you do sympathise with him. He's an unfortunate victim as much as the people he puts the bite on. He has become a monster through no fault of his own, actually by trying to save someone else. Young Jenny Williams, Gwen Conliffe's friend, when Bela Lugosi puts the bite on her, and severs her jugular. But he also puts the bite on Lon Chaney Jr., and of course Lon will get the curse then, becoming a lycanthropic werewolf throughout the rest of the movie. Another big difference, of course, is that in the film he is Claude Rains' rather estranged and prodigal son. He only comes back to the Welsh family baronial grounds and manor house after the tragedy of his older brother being killed in an accident. So he's the prodigal son. He spent most of his time in America learning, engineering, and he's a whiz kid with astronomical devices, which is a huge element of the script, which is only a kind of starting point in the finished movie. Because in the finished movie, he is the other son who comes back, but he's very Americanized. In the original script, he purely is an American who's brought over, but he's got a different name. His name's Larry Gill, not Larry Talbot. He's not one of the Talbot ancestral, luminaries. So he's an American that comes over just to do a job for, Sir Talbot. And then, but the rest of it follows the same sort of trajectory where he will spy using that telescope. I mean, heavy bit of voyeurism there, and it's in the film as well. He will spy Gwen Conliffe putting her earrings on at her dressing table in her room above, Conliffe's antique shop, and he's been spying on her. Well, that's the same in both versions, and of course he makes the move on her, as we all know, the time-honoured story. But she has got another love interest. Patrick Knowles plays what's his name? Oh God, Andrews. Not Larry. What's his name? You know what? I've forgotten the bloody guy's name. Doesn't matter. But Andrews, and he's like the sort of gameskeeper on the Talbot grounds. Now, obviously, there's a bit of rivalry there, but in the film, that they don't come to blows. They're not totally antagonistic, against each other, for the love of this woman. But in the original screenplay, or this shooting script anyway, there's a lot more animosity. But the whole thing about the cane is changed. In the film, Claude Rains uses this, which Larry himself buys from the Conliffe's antique shop. Another dog. No, that's not a dog. That's a werewolf, and the pentagram and all this sort of stuff she tells him. And then she tells him the little mantra, even a man who's pure. Pretty much everybody in the town tells Larry this, to the point where he's like, if I hear that one more time, everyone's reinforcing this mantra. He couldn't be anything but a bloody werewolf, could he? The amount of times people are drumming this into him. And that is a crux of this. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In In the film, Claude Rains kills him with his own silver-headed wolf cane at the end of the movie. In the shooting script, it's Andrews, Frank Andrews, that's it. And what he's done, Larry himself knows or believes he's a werewolf. So he melts down silver to make a silver bullet, and he gives it to Frank Andrews. He says, I believe Gwen's in danger. If you love Gwen, you've got to save her. Use this bullet on the wolf. And of course, later that night, he will be killed by the bullet that he's given to Frank Andrews. So it's not the cane, it's a silver bullet. Okay. Now, again, a huge psychological element which is revealed in this script is that it could all be in his mind. Now, with all this constant telling of, even a man who's pure at heart, he's had a crash course in lycanthropy, so it's not, and then all these events, deaths and bites, and his mind's screwed up. The transformation, the only wolfish sort of transformation that takes place in the shooting script is Larry in the woods looking into a pool of water in the full moonlight, and he sees his reflection. Importantly, Curt Siodmak, the screenwriter, always says we never see the wolf's face unless it's through Larry's eyes. So Larry will be looking at his own reflection, and he will see a wolf looking back at him. You'll see his arms extend, you'll see him getting furrier. And then at the end, he is shot, but the hunters and Frank think that they've shot a wolf. So when he goes to the body, that's not a wolf, it's a man. It's the American, it's Larry Gill. There's been an accident. So it's kind of, but when it doesn't work in that script, that's nice from a psychological point of view, but where it doesn't work is that they do shoot a wolf. They see a wolf running, and a wolf. Frank Andrews has a dog called Peter in the film. The dog does not like Larry. Nothing seems to like Larry really, and so he's always snarling at him. But everything chases a wolf. A real wolf attacks Gwen at the end. That is then shot, and as it walks off, wounded, limping, dying, it collapses, and it's that the body that's there is Larry's. So that psychological element, that thing like, is it all in his mind, really doesn't hold water, because it clearly has been a wolf doing the killings, and there's not many killings in the story, even in this version, which is the same. Bela Lugosi's gypsy fortune teller is killed by Larry. He puts the bite on Larry, who becomes a werewolf. But Bella's killed Jenny Williams. So there's two deaths. And then the Wolfman himself actually just kills Richardson the gravedigger. And that's it. And then he will be killed at the end. So that's it. His killing spree is exceptionally limited. Excuse me, won't you? Your good health, sir. And yours, Kentucky. How are you doing? Are you pleased with how the election went in good old US of A? What did your state vote? We'll do a recount later. But so that psychological element doesn't seem to really bear up too well, and maybe that's why. Well, Universal wanted a new monster. So Val Lewton and RKO, when they did Cat People, Val Lewton despised the Universal Monster of the Month sort of thing. Oh, it's just another man in a suit. Oh, here we go. He preferred to have, and Jacques Turner, his director, preferred to have a psychological element to it, a more supernatural element, but without the actual hokey man in the suit, monster rubberiness. So hence Cat People was his interpretation of the same story of the Wolfman, but told from a more cerebral, intellectual point of view. So you never saw transformations take place, even though they clearly do. But the thing is, the Wolfman would not work without that. Universal wanted a new monster. They specifically wanted another creature feature. After Frankenstein and Dracula, the Invisible Man, that's what they needed to have, another titan of terror in their roster of creatures. So it had to be done. So Jack P. Pierce is brought in. Huge section there on Jack P. Pierce and his makeup, and man himself. I'll show you some more bits and bobs in this. Worry not. Just let me have my pontification on all of this. Because I haven't read the whole thing, obviously. I've just perused it and gone, oh my God, this is great. The pictures, the publicity shots, fabulous. I'll show you them all. But so he wanted a monster, and of course, Lon Chaney born Creighton Chaney, son of the great Lon Chaney Sr. And very famously, of course, he was stillborn, and they were living out in a cabin out in the woods with a frozen lake. So Lon Chaney Sr., man of 1,000 faces, clutched up the stillborn babe, ran out to the ice and broke the ice on top of the lake and dunked his newborn son into the frozen water, which sparked him into life. True story, and it's a fabulous creation of a man that would go on to play monsters. He would play Frankenstein's monster as well, of course, you know, electrodes and electricity jolts him into life. He would play the man-made monster, and it was again jolted into life, you know. And it's a poetic beginning to what would become, you know, a fabulous career, an iconic career. So monsters had to be done, but it's interesting how the script does change, and you can see why, you know, Universal made the decisions that they did. They retained all the fabulous fable-like elements. The relationships are all there. The moodiness, is it real? Is it in your head? You know, that is there in the film, but they've given the monster angle as well. They've given us that he is a werewolf, and without that everlasting legacy of the curse and the transformations, you know, where would we be? The genre would not be the same had they kept it on a more psychological bent. So for that, I'm eternally grateful. Now, you could argue, well, that's an older script. That's not even the one that's the film. That's why it's fascinating. That's why these things really work. You can see this is what the plan was. This is what the idea, the agenda was. And Curt Siodmak puts little script directions in. He's a screenwriter, but he's actually putting in little ideas. We should not see his face. We should not do this. Show it from his angle here. He's giving direction as well, and also a bit of insight into how the script should be interpreted, what you should see on screen, what you should feel, what the audience should feel, what you should be conveying. So he's going a bit beyond what many screenwriters, especially in that period, were doing. And it works great, I think. So, sorry, I've got a very itchy nose. What it is, and he can testify, this guy here, is hair. Little strands come down and tickle like that. So if I'm doing this, it's not because I've been snorting cocaine, folks. It's like a fucking hair going up my nostrils. The pitfalls of growing one's hair, even when there isn't a full moon. So let's just take you through this. As I say, you've got that great image there. You have fabulous pictures of the... He's like, I'm not sure about this. Am I real? Am I not? Is it all in my head? There's a famous one. A good satanic looking look there. There's another good one. Look at that. There's a history of werewolves. Oh, look at that. Very famous one again. I've got lobby cards with all these images on. The ones that are painted over, they're colourised. Evelyn Anker's, his co-star, they didn't get on. And she does address that, but she tones it down. What really happened? There's a shot of her trimming his beard. She definitely tones all that sort of stuff down. Another harrowing shot. You don't really see it. That's an unusual one. Like, what's he doing there? The werewolf from ancient myths and legends to literature and the silver screen. So you get like a convoluted history of real life cases and trials and the tortures and the killings that took place around Europe and the belief and the superstition and all that. Many of the books that they quote I've actually got as well. Montague Summers is a treatise on the werewolf. There's another great shot there. Interestingly enough, I haven't come across a picture of Moose. Moose was the German Shepherd dog that he befriended on the set and became his... Sadly, Moose was killed in an accident on the Universal backlot. There's Jack P. Pierce working on him. There's some initial design work. And a history of, you know, Jack Pierce. There's Universal's previous attempt at a werewolf movie, which was The Werewolf of London, which I love, from 1935, I think it was. Henry Hull. The original makeup for Henry Hull, which Jack Pierce devised, was very similar to how you see Lon Chaney as the Wolfman, but Henry Hall did not like that. He also didn't like the process of the makeup being put on, so it went through a more streamlined look, and I think that looks really good. It's actually quite frightening the way that he looks in that. So then we go on to the cast as well. So there's quite a lot of information. Before you even get to the script, there's some good pictures of the dissolve of his transformation at the end. He's been clobbered in the film by his father with a wolf-headed cane, and he will revert back to Larry, leaving no doubt in anyone's mind that he was a monster. And there's that great flying picture. It's like Wolfman doing Superman. Super Wolfman! A huge element on the music, a very big chapter on the music. There's another great picture which you never see in the movie. That's Richardson, the gravedigger, who he's killed. And you don't really see much of that in the film, which is a shame. Posters and all sorts of stuff. Folks, these books are tremendous. Here's at the back a big gallery of posters and lobby cards. And the original press releases, which give from the era lots of press critical responses and all that, and lots of talk of the new monster and all the cast getting a big write up. More great pictures. There's a hell of a lot in this book. I mean, before you even get to the script, look at this. Let's get on to it. Before you even get onto the script, you've got all of this history and critique, response, and background on the movie itself, and it breaks down as well, how the script changed and why it changed and different ideas that they had, and I think it's absolutely glorious, and I couldn't be without a book like this. And if you're any sort of fan of the Universal movies and the Wolfman saga, this and the Frankenstein meets the Wolfman script book, you've got to have them. They're just beautiful reads and just so well put together. But it is great. I also find amusing about this, the thing in the movie, and I've banged on about this a lot. Well, everyone who's into the film talks about it, but Bela Lugosi transforms into a four-legged wolf. Yeah, that's what he does. But Lon changes into a bipedal, upright walking wolfman. Why is that? Well, my theory, and I've said this many times, and I've written it, and I've said it on the channel many times as well, is that Bela Lugosi, who was Maria Uspanskaya, Meliva, the gypsy woman, her son, he's been a werewolf for much longer. So I think that, in theory, maybe the longer you're a werewolf, where you've got lycanthropy, you're cursed, the more you transform over the years, the more wolfish you become, until your transformation makes you into a wolf completely. Whereas when you're initially bitten, your first transformations, you're this weird hybrid creature for a while. You're this upright man, wolf, kind of, it's all over the show. That's the theory. But no one ever says this. It's not in the script. It's not in the movie. It's never addressed. But interestingly enough, in the screenplay, this screenplay here, the shooting script, Bela is a four-legged wolf, and the wolf that Larry clearly obviously becomes, despite the psychological element they're trying to bring in there, is in his own mind, it's still a four-legged wolf. It's described, they see it a lot, they shoot it, they chase it, the dogs go after it, it's a wolf. So there was never the element really, even when he sees himself in the reflection in the pool, he sees his arms elongating, and it gets fairier, but clearly he's going to become the wolf. A lot of it's supposed to be in his mind, but I think we can read between those lines, and track the real wolf. But I think it's tremendous. I genuinely adore stuff like this. I go to bed and I had it last night, and I was reading it and under the light from my own phone, and Miss would come and go, yes, it's 3:30 in the morning, you just turn the lights off, and stop playing that music. I'm sitting there in bed, propped up, reading this, and I've got the Wolfman soundtrack playing. I'm 51, but there's some great elements. A lot of the script is still the same. Like, let's try to find, where do we go? When poor old Jenny goes to get her fortune told, and it's Bela Lugosi. And Bela Lugosi's great in this movie. I think he's tremendous. Let's have a look. Where is it now? Where? There. Like, she's gone to see him, and he knows she's going to become. He knows it's a full moon. That's the whole thing about the gypsies. They know they've got a werewolf in their midst already. So everywhere they go, they must know he's doing killings. They must know this. So they're all complicit in these murders, quite clearly. And obviously his mother knows all about it. Right, this is Jenny. Tell me, when am I going to be married? And Bella looks up. His name's Bella in it as well. His dark eyes are narrow slits. He mumbles in a strange language, then pulls the globe close and looks into it because he doesn't want to do it. He knows tonight's going to be a bit of a busy night for him. What do you see? Camera moves in closer into. Bella's head is bent over the crystal. He pushes back his dark hair, which has fallen over his forehead. A scar becomes visible on his forehead. A 5-pointed star, a pentagram deeply cut into the bone. Bella looks up and demands, "Your hands." Jenny puts her hands on the table, palms up. The left hand shows your past. The right hand shows your future. The pentagram on his forehead becomes more distinct, as if penetrating more deeply into his skin. Bella takes Jenny's left hand and studies it, but he suddenly seems disturbed. He puts his left hand over the pentagram, as if in pain. He does hold his head. Abruptly he gets up, dropping Jenny's hand. His face is distorted. What's the matter? She gazes at her hand, then at Bella. The man standing before her seems to be in the throes of some dreadful suffering. His left hand presses his hair hard against his forehead, as if to hide the pentagram and ease the pain of it. He trembles. His eyes are glassy. I can't tell you anything tonight. Come back tomorrow. Jenny grows more alarmed. What did you see? Something evil? Bella answers in a tortured voice. No, go away. Go quickly, go! I love it. Jenny jumps up and retreats backwards to the entrance to the tent. Yes, I'm going. Yeah. She runs out of the tent. Bella puts both hands before his face, his shoulders convulsed as if in pain. Now, of course, in the movie, the horses outside begin to whinny and jump up in fright, and you do see Bella like that, silhouetted, holding his face, and it's one of the more, I don't know, iconic scenes for me, and no one ever talks about it. They always talk about Lon, they always talk about the prowlings and Maliva and all this, but Bella's little tiny performance is fantastic. And of course, you've got the whole thing where, because Larry's killed him, I killed a wolf. Look, it bit me. And they're like, not in there. And he goes to see, Bella in the casket, and he's like, he's tortured because he's killed. But I didn't kill a man. I didn't kill you. But what's played on in the original script is that Bella looks back at him with a fiendish grin. Even though he's dead, his eyes are open, he's staring at Larry, like knowing I've put the curse onto you. But what happens is Maliva comes in, Larry scurries away. It's bits of it in the movie anyway, and hides behind and watches. And she whispers this little mantra to him: "The way you walked was thorny through no fault of your own," and blah 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 blah. And she uses Wolfbane, and she eases his transition into, peace and rest. And then his smile, he gains a beatific smile. And at the end of the shooting script, that's what happens to Larry. They turn over his body, and it's Larry, oh my God, we've shot Larry, the American. And then he's got this fiendish grin on his face. But Maliva comes up, and she alleviates the pain and eases away the curse. And he ends up smiling. And like the last line in the script is that Gwen Conliffe, Evelyn Ankers, he's smiling. So you can see how the script had a poetic sort of lyricism to it already. The film itself even actually remarkably extends that, despite having a man in a suit and a mask running around, throttling people and snarling and doing all the werewolfy things. Despite having all that, it actually extends that fable-like, dream-like quality to it, which is why the film is so downright magnificent. There's the main theme again. This is actually, we've played all the Wolfman score, and now this is Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, which is remarkably similar, A lot of the same tracks are used over again. But, Why fix what ain't broken? Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, take it easy. Keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. Be happy, be healthy, and I'm going to see you all laters. You're not kidding about the thorns. I think I've sat on a few.